Hello, and welcome to Solar Cookers International's press conference here at COP28 in Dubai. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we are honored to welcome Mr. Fred Onduri, the Vice Chair of the United Nations Climate Technology Center and Network Advisory Board. We'll be having a little bit of a discussion about the Solar Cookers International and the CTCN and opportunities to address climate change using technology, especially with a focus on clean cooking. So to begin, Mr. Onduri, I just wanted to ask you to introduce yourself and the CTCN a little bit, and what your role is with the CTCN.
Yeah, thank you, Colin. It's my pleasure to be here this evening, trying to address you on very crucial issue. And it's also my pleasure to talk to Solar Cooker International and look at ways of how we can really help improve lives of the people, the communities in developing countries, and cause transformational change using the solar cooker technologies. I'm Onduri Machulo Fred, a Ugandan, and a lead negotiator on technology development and transfer on behalf of Ugandan LDCs. I am also currently the Vice Chair of the UN Climate Technology Center Network, which is based in Copenhagen. And I think I can go further by saying that this body, the CTCN, is assigned the duty of ensuring that implementation of climate change technology transfer and technology takes place. In Cancun in 2010, during COP16, we established two elements of the technology mechanism in order to improve on the implementation and delivery of technologies to developing countries. Before this was not being done, and we felt it was time to come up with an appropriate way of addressing the technology needs of developing countries. And the CTCN is advised and guided by the advisory board, and I was the first member of the advisory board, the first vice chair of the advisory board, and that was when I was representing Africa, and I became the chair of the advisory board. So I am serving my another term under the nomination of the LDCs in the advisory board, and I've been nominated the vice chair, and I think come March next year, I'll be the chair of the advisory board. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Onduri. I wanted to also quickly talk a little bit about Solar Cookers International. Solar Cookers International is a CTCN network member, which is for us a great opportunity to link with an entity like the UN CTCN to help address requests by specific country nationally designated entities that want to focus on technology transfer, specifically around clean cooking. So that's where we come in as a CTCN network member. For us, our focus is on solar cookers, solar cook stoves, and we focus on solar thermal cooking. Here on this slide, there's a couple different varieties. On the left, there's a reflective panel cooker. The center is a box oven, and on the right is a parabolic reflector. Each of these solar thermal cookers reflect or redirect sunlight towards a center pot or inside of a box that allows temperatures that are high enough to cook your food without any need to burn wood or charcoal or other biomass. So solar cooking is a way to cook your food that decreases emissions from the house at the household level and impacts health, gender, the environment, and economic savings for households as well by reducing the household fuel budget. There are a few other models here on this slide, one called the Fresnel lens, the Fresnel mirror, and the evacuated tube. And there are also large-scale institutional solar cooking systems. These ones are in South Asia. This is something more common in India and Nepal, but these are other examples of how to use technology to address the need for access to clean cooking. So at Solar Cookers International, our mission is to help improve human health, economic well-being, women's empowerment, and the environment by promoting climate-friendly solar cooking for populations around the world. And so you mentioned earlier that you come from Uganda. I wanted to ask you just to share a little bit about what the cooking context is like in Uganda. What kind of fuels are people using, and how does that affect families and communities where you come from?
Yeah, before I respond to that very question, I think I would like also to emphasize that the CTCN implements its functions by engaging the members of the network, and the Solar Cooker International is one of those members of the network, and it is based on the professionalism and the sector that they operate on and comparative advantage. So when a request is submitted, for example, by Uganda, requiring the issue to the technology to do with the cooking technology, I think Solar Cooker International is very appropriate and fits in very nicely. But to answer his question, that the cooking context in Uganda, you find that Uganda, like many African developing countries, depends on the biomass for cooking. That is, by cutting down the trees, the forests, and then burning charcoal, they use the firewood directly. Sometimes the advanced family middle class, they will resort to buying charcoal, using charcoal. And then very few cases, very few households will use the grid electricity, and we have plenty of hydroelectricity right at the moment. The major problem that we have is the cost of infrastructure for this electricity, and then also the cost of the tariffs. They are quite high, and you'll be shocked that even if the grids are passing over houses, you'll find that the local people in the communities are not able to tap that power from the grid, so they will still depend on the use of biomass, firewood, charcoal, and other forms of resources, fewer resources from the nature.
Great, yeah, thanks for your response. We have a program in northern Kenya supporting refugee families in the Kakuma refugee camp, and that's what we're hearing from the families that are using solar box oven cookers, is that they're relying on wood, charcoal for cooking fuel, and there's smoke inhalation, which particularly impacts women and girls. And by using a solar cooker, they're able to significantly decrease their reliance on wood and charcoal, sometimes as much as half as much over the course of a month. So that's the kind of impact that we're looking to make with our programs at Solar Cookers International. I also wanted to ask you next a little bit more about the CTCN's goals and current priorities. I know the CTCN came out with a 5-year plan last year so if you wanted to just elaborate a little bit more on some of the specific ways the CTCN is trying to support countries, and particularly least developed countries.
Yeah, CTCN is quite responsive to the demand or requests of the developing countries. And in that regard, CTCN works through work programs, and there's a rolling annual work program. There's also the 5-year work program, and now we have in place what we call the joint work program between the TEC and the CTCN. Now, we have in our work program 2 enablers. That is the innovation and national systems, digitalization and national system of innovation. Those are the 2 enablers that we have to drive the climate technology access forward, that is to help the CTCN respond to the requests from the developing countries. On top of that, we have 5 transformational areas whereby we talk about energy, water, and food nexus. We also have issues to do with the, sorry, just a moment. We have energy, we have also innovation that is in a place, and then we have other areas of operation that helps guide the CTCN in delivering the technology, climate technology as demanded by developing countries. And in order for CTCN to deliver its work, the CTCN works together with the advisory board and now with the tech, whereby the tech currently is engaged in handling or integrating the policy elements of the request into the implementation functions of the CTCN so that they move together. I'll give an example. When we were in Nairobi in the African Week, this was the first time I think the Technology Executive Committee participated in the African Climate Week, and also we met the NDE forum, whereby the NDEs, most of them were saying they have not felt, they were not feeling the Technology Executive Committee because it has not been with working within the communities. And I think the two parties, the CTCN and the tech, play to start working together to support the communities in the different countries. So CTCN also works together with the financial mechanism within the UNFCCC and outside the UNFCCC. By the financial mechanism, I imply the GEF and the GCF, and then there are also other funding arrangements within the UNFCCC that also support the work of the CTCN. These include the LDC fund also and adaptation fund, which are all operated by the GEF. So CTCN also has got some other engagement with the different countries, partners. For example, we partnered with the South Korea, and the South Korea managed to provide CTCN with office space to help the coordination of its activities. It's a liaison office based in Songdo. So that helps in helps CTCN engaging with the GCF, which is a financial mechanism, because they are sharing the same building, and it is very easy for them to collaborate and maybe leverage the financial resources needed for implementation of technology development and transfer. So other than that, I think we can say there's an attempt to work with the private sector, but there's not much breakthrough for the CTCN because I think the modalities and the guidelines are not yet very clear on how to engage with the private sector. But according to the joint work program, there's that provision to strengthen engagement with the private sector and other humanitarian organizations. Thank you.
Great, yeah, it's great to see that the CTCN and the tech are pushing forward with greater collaboration and coordination, and especially with larger funding entities as well, to see that the CTCN can use its response to the requests from countries and leverage that into additional funding opportunities to scale up those technological solutions. So it's great to see that's continuing to become more coordinated. I'll just add a couple things. So for Solar Cookers International, again, we're focused on that cooking aspect of climate change. There are still 2.3 billion people around the world that rely on polluting fuels and technologies for cooking. So this is the scale of the problem demands a wide range of solutions, and solar cooking is a way that you can cook your food without so many of those negative impacts that I mentioned earlier. The Solar Cookers International has been honored to be a CTCN member for several years now, and we've had the opportunity to have a press conference with CTCN members in previous iterations of COP. And here's, on this slide, you can see an example of a solar cooker at a previous COP booth or pavilion. And one of the other things I wanted to touch on is we've seen a trend lately that countries are increasingly including reference to solar, or increasingly including reference to clean cooking in their nationally determined contributions. We annually come out with a report that looks at the nationally determined contributions of countries around the world. And in our most recent report, we counted 75 countries that include reference to clean cooking as a priority, and 49 of those countries have language that specifically highlight opportunities that we think could be favorable for solar cooking. So it's great to see that the issue of clean cooking and its linkages to climate are becoming more and more appreciated and stressed by some of the country representatives and governments where access to clean cooking is still an issue. So I wanted to ask you do you have any thoughts on how Solar Cookers International can collaborate with CTCN, or how, as a network member, SCI, Solar Cookers International, can help address these priorities that are being expressed in things like the nationally determined contributions?
Yeah, I think the intervention of Solar Cooker International in regards to the alternative source of energy to developing countries is very crucial. One, I just mentioned earlier that the cost of the modern cooking facilities that we have, like the electric cookers, then you go to gas cookers, they are quite very high. And I think the Solar Cooker International can develop the facilities and accessories that are affordable and easily applicable to the developing countries. And then we all know that when we look at the current way of the current use of energy in Africa is mainly, let's say, biomass. You look at charcoal, as I mentioned earlier, and these have got other side effects. For example, the respiratory diseases that come with that is very evident. Then you also look at the gender aspect of this. The women folk in Africa and even developing countries as a whole, they play a big role, especially as far as energy is concerned. They are the ones who are supposed to look for firewood. They are supposed to look for food in the house and cook that food. So you find to look for firewood, it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of efforts, and also maybe the energy resources that they the natural energy resources that they have. And then reaching at the cooking level, they inhale a lot of this smoke, and it has some health hazards for them. Now, with the Solar Cooker International introducing solar, I think it is smoke-free. I'm very sure it is smoke-free, and therefore the health will be, the health relief will be very important to developing countries. Then when you look at also the gender aspect, it will ease the burden on women walking long distance to go and look for firewood. You know, some countries are total desert, and yet a woman is required to put food on the plate. So you can imagine what they go through in order to get the firewood and put that food on the plate. So introducing solar panels for cooking, I think, can relieve these women of this burden. And I think there's a lot of advantage working with the Solar Cooker International, especially looking at the accessibility, affordability of the solar cookers, and also ensuring that the maintenance sustainability of this is observed. Otherwise, we may have a situation where we only have a solar cooker in a household today. When it breaks down, no repairs, no spare parts, and it cannot be sustained. So they go back to the normal firewood and charcoal, and there may be recidivism, and that will not be very good for the women, especially in the developing countries. So really, as CTCN, we really want to cooperate with the Solar Cooker International to try to improve the lives of households in Africa, especially looking at the women issues. Okay.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that answer. You mentioned two words that start with A. You mentioned accessibility and affordability, and I think those are two critical components. I would also add awareness. One of the things that Solar Cookers International does is we work with local counterparts, local implementing partners, to develop training programs and make sure that people are aware that solar cooking works and that it can address your cooking needs. Solar cooking might not be something that can address all of your cooking needs, so we talk about it being an integrated cooking solution. Even with a portion of your meals being cooked with solar energy, you can have significant health improvements and economic savings. And then the fourth A word that I'll mention is availability. We want to make sure that solar cookers, solar cook stoves are available to people where they are. So for us, again, we work with local implementing partners on training programs, and we also work to develop local manufacturing capacity so that whenever possible there are manufacturers in Uganda or in Kenya or in Nepal or wherever it is around the world, so that brings down the cost of the solar cook stove to the end user, and it also allows for manufacturing and livelihoods as well. So those are all kind of the components that we put together when we're looking at how to build out an ecosystem that allows for solar cooking to really take off. The next thing I wanted to quickly mention, one of the last things I wanted to mention is for country representatives. I know the CTCN often does trainings to help with NDEs, and that's great to help support those NDEs and identify how they can make an impact on the priorities that they have. But I also wanted to ask, are there any other ways that those country representatives can engage with the CTCN, especially if they have an interest in clean cooking?
Yeah, it's important to note that without the NDEs, that is the national designated entities, CTCN has no job to do. So the NDEs are very important because they generate the information regarding the technology, climate technology demands, and it translates those demands into requests and submit to the CTCN. Now, if you look at the results of the outcomes of the TNAs and the priority technologies identified, most of the countries have indicated that energy for cooking is very important, and they have a stress with the use of biomass because of the challenges that we mentioned before. And therefore, if the NDEs could work with the CTCN, especially when they submit their requests, I think the Solar Cooker International, as a member of the network, can be asked to work with the respective NDEs that have asked, or the respective countries that have asked for that form of energy. So there's a lot to do for NDEs, the CTCN, and the Solar Cooker International, because the NDEs represent parties. Parties want technology. They want technology that works, technology that will relieve them from the challenges that are facing, accessible, affordability, and sustainable. So if Solar Cooker International can maintain that and make sure that it can address all the needs of developing countries related to cooking facilities, I think the CTCN would benefit a lot by responding to requests using the Solar Cooker International. Thank you.
Great, yeah, thanks. I'll respond to that by saying Solar Cookers International as a network member is very open and willing to collaborate with the CTCN country representatives to think about what might be appropriate for a specific country context and perhaps identify the technological requirements to help with that solar cooking initiative in a specific context or country location. So I'll just, sorry.
May I just?
Sure, yeah, please, go ahead.
May I ask you, at least now I know this is a platform where there are many parties who are listening, and we have our developing parties are also listening, and they know they need this facility, the solar cookers, to at least improve on their livelihood, their life in the households. What can you promise them to ensure that at least we are going to deliver what we are talking about? Because as a member of the network, there are many various members. There are over 810 members of the network. On the solar cookers, I think there are very few. And now you are one of those who have come up to talk about the introduction of solar cooker to the developing countries. Can you give a message that they will welcome, and they will have a message of hope so that they can start approaching you to access this facility? Thank you.
Sure, yeah, I'll just, on this last slide, there's three things that we typically focus on. We do research, so we do stove testing to ensure that solar cooker products are effective. We do advocacy at events like this at COP28 to talk about how solar cooking works and how it can be beneficial, and we do capacity building. So when we look for a project, we try to partner with local organizations and make sure that the solar cookers that are being developed are locally manufactured and that they're impacting people where they need that help the most. So we do monitoring and evaluation, we do all kinds of assessment about what kind of impact, and from what we've seen in Kenya, for example, the families are saving $70 per year, US dollars per year, by a reduction in their fuel costs. And the box ovens are effective. They're reducing the reliance on wood and charcoal. And the women and families that are using those box ovens are cooking food that is healthy, nutritious, and is assisting with food security, increasing health outcomes, and decreasing demand on forest products. So I'll leave it right there, but I just want to say if anyone that's watching wants to sign up for more information, you can visit our website at solarcookers.com. And again, I want to thank Mr. Fred Nduri for joining us today, and thank you everyone out there for watching. Much appreciated. Thank you.